Okay, there's some people coming on. Good evening to the viewers that we have coming on so far. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Give people some time to come on in. Well, while we're waiting for a few more people, if anyone wants to type in the comments to, let us know that you're here, that's fine too. Good evening, Damon.
Hey, Damon.
Hello, Damon. And Shnequia, I still can't see any. I can't even see anything on our Facebook page.
I see him popping up.
Oh, you can see on the Facebook page, Karie?
Yeah, they have a private chat and then they have the comments. And I just looking at the comments.
Okay. I'm not sure why it's not letting y'all see.
I just see the one.
Okay, so you can't see Damon's comment. Oh, Shantae.
Hey, Shonda. Hey, my BFF. I love you.
Maybe I gotta go since I'm looking at it from an administrative point of view. Maybe that's why it won't let me see anything.
You're looking at what from administrator?
Because automatically with me and you, it just logs in as the administrator.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about on the stream. You're still not able to see any of the comments? But Karie, you can see the comments, can you? Okay, Karie can see them.
Oh, there they go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're on the side there. That's why I said I know I enabled it so y'all could see. Hey, Tasha.
Then I can get out of Facebook then.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to wait a few more minutes, guys?
I can't see how many people are in. Shit.
Well, you should see it on the screen.
I don't see it. It just showing me the time.
Oh, it doesn't have the number? Number of people? Okay. Well, there's a few people on. I mean, it's enough to get started if you all want to.
We can.
Okay.
We can. Good evening, Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, Gwen.
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Gwen.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. First and foremost, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on this evening. We thank you all for your continued support of our podcast, Insightful Conversations with S&L. For those of you all who have yet to like our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page, I highly, highly encourage you all to do so. If you feel like the material that we're sharing with you all can, really impact or can be impactful to someone else, feel free to share that material with them as well. But we're going to go ahead and get started with this evening conversation. Hope you all saw the flyer that we put out because we got a lot discussed.
Yes, a lot to cover
on tonight. First and foremost, one thing that we always do before we dive right into our conversation is basically giving you all a recap of what we discussed in our last conversation. The title of that particular dialogue is I Am Enough, where we talked about self-worth. We broke down the definition or the differences between self-worth versus self-esteem. We talked about where a lot of times we can get those negative influences when it comes to our self-worth, such as relationship status, your appearance, family, societal standards, and things of that nature, as well as positive ways that you can increase or uplift yourself when it comes to those areas. And so the bottom line of that particular conversation or episode 2 basically is, at the end of the day, you determine what your self-worth is going to be. It's not necessarily based on anybody, anything, any particular phase that you are in your life. You are the ultimate determining factor. However, you've got to believe it. You've got to be able to walk in that and know that, because at the end of the day, somebody's sitting up here telling you X, Y, and Z, but you don't necessarily feel that or feel like you're deserving of that type of behavior. You will in turn allow people to dictate your value to you. And so, like I said, if you have yet to check out episodes 2 or 1, feel free to go back and check those episodes out. We love y'all feedback. We look forward to y'all feedback. And so, without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton over to my cousin and let her introduce our special guest to you all.
Oh my goodness, my mom just logged on. Hey, Mom.
Hi.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Okay. So, hi everyone. This is Shnequia, and as you can see, there is 3 of us here tonight, and we have a very special guest, one of my best friends. Her name is Karie, and I brought her on the show, and I talked to Keisha about when we were planning this episode about how I thought Karie would be perfect to be on this episode, because about a month ago, right, Karie?
Give or take, yeah, probably a little
month or so ago, she had posted a question on her Facebook page, and it was to spark a discussion. And actually, the question was related to the title of this episode, which is Strong Independent Black Woman, Is This Title a Compliment? So, Karie, if you want to just tell people a little bit about yourself and kind of like what prompted you to kind of ask that question on your Facebook, you can feel free to go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Karie. Pretty much what inspired the whole thought behind the question was because my boyfriend is a truck driver. We end up having long conversations about just about everything, and that the night before, it just happened to be a topic about, just we were talking about society as it is now, and kind of trying to, I guess, just come up with ideas on how we probably got to the point to we are now. Everything is kind of chaotic. So I had asked him if he ever had read the Willie Lynch letters or whatnot, and he said he heard them, but he never actually read them. So I took the time to go look it up, find the letters or whatnot, and then I read them to him, and it just sat with me when we got to the part about, like, pretty much the marriage part, and it kind of, I don't know why it weighed heavy on me, because it was kind of like everything about it was how to make a black woman like strong and make her sort of, to break up the black family and all. And it's like, whether, you believe that they're real or the person, the author is real or not, it was like, but the facts behind the actual, I guess the dialogue was true. So it just got me, posed me to ask that question. So, and me and Shnequia had talked about it, and it did kind of, I guess hit home that it's a conversation that needs to be had, but a lot of people didn't interact with the conversation. And it's like, that's the thing where I think a lot of people have got comfortable with the, I guess it being a compliment. So, it was kind of like, if you said yes, I just want to know the thoughts behind it. And if you said no, what were the thoughts behind it? I just wanted to get an understanding, kind of how people think, or how, just as a cultural thing, just as a woman type thing, just, where do you get your ideas from? That's pretty much the basic, you
Right.
know,
Right.
thought behind the question.
So when you posed that question, what was your own thoughts about it? Like, if someone said that to you, Karie, you are a strong, independent Black woman. Like, how would you take that?
Well, I kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of depending on how, it's being said, because I don't want to be seen as a strong, independent Black woman because I have to be. Instead of being like, strong and all, because, it's kind of, I guess, a stigma that has been placed on Black women for, generations, that's how we're supposed to be. So I kind of, is it, as long as it's not like, I'm strong and Black because I'm strong, independent because I have to be, then it's like, no, I don't, that's not what I want. It's like, that's what I look at for if I'm in a relationship or marriage or potential marriage, whatever, engagement, whatever. That's what I look for in a man. Like, you take the weight off of me so I don't have to be strong and independent all the time. But as far as like, I just see a lot of women wearing it like a badge of honor, because I've seen it on my own Facebook page. I've seen it just in, just in general, watching, whether it's TV, news, anything. It's just always that I'm a strong, independent Black woman. I don't need no man. It's like, oh, okay. That's kind of, my mind just started going to work at that point where I just don't, it just depends on I guess the way it's kind of being portrayed, like it's being said.
And
Yeah,
where
I
do
kind
you
of.
all think, I'm sorry, but where do you think, like, where do you think that breakdown came from?
I
Like,
think the breakdown can be.
that
Go
phrase
ahead.
coined? Like, why do you think a lot of us as women, whether we've taken on that particular title in the past or we're still wearing it present day, where do we get that ideology from?
I think it's kind of been forced on us in a way, because it's like, if you do look at the breakdown of just in general the Black culture in itself, as far as like, at one point the drugs being introduced and crime and all of this stuff, Black men being taken out the household. You look at it from that aspect, so it's like you already are at, we have, as I just say in general, as Black people, we do have a lot of weight already on us. So when you have different dynamics introduced into, I guess into the culture, I say, then you automatically gonna have, you know, uh, oh, something shiny. I'm gonna go over here. Next thing you know, you in jail. As a man, and it's like you take the man out the household. The woman has no choice but to be strong, because somebody got to take care of the kids. Somebody got to take care of the house. And it's at the point where women had to start going to work. It's like, it's not like when we, with our mothers, grandmothers, or whatnot, how they stayed in the home and they, I guess, did their wifely duties and just worked. I mean, they worked in the home, and the man just did whatever he wanted to do and went out. Maybe had a couple, the families. Maybe had, he did the work, took care of the household. And I think over the course of time, with that breakdown coming, is kind of where I want to say we got put in a place where we had no other choice. Like, Black, as a Black women as a whole, we had no other choice but to be strong, because it's like, time doesn't stop just because something happened. You got to keep it going.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was saying. It's just kind of like reading the letters just kind of like triggered something, because it was like, okay, you teach your daughters to be strong, you teach your sons to be weak. And it's like, it's a lot of, I recognize a lot of that in our society today. It's kind of like, that's what kind of got me, another thing that got me to thinking, where it's like, you have a lot of men, you got a lot of baby daddies, you got a lot of, men that are claiming to be men, but they really haven't been raised. They've been raised by women. The whole father's been taken out the household. So it's like the cycle continues. So it's like, I guess, like I said, the conversation I feel needs to be had, but nobody, in small groups it's being had, but on a platform, I don't think it's being heard and had. So where it's actually gonna make a difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just to go back on what you were talking about in terms of, if it's a compliment, I mean, I do agree that I think it depends on, I guess, the context that it's being said, and like how
Uh-huh.
the person who is receiving it,
Uh-huh.
the compliment, may perceive it. Personally, for me, I don't really like that as a compliment, because I feel like, especially with Black women, we already go through so much in our lives and in society. And I feel like that label causes us to be conditioned and taught and expected to be strong and independent and
it's programming. Yep.
right. It's programming. And I feel like because of that, it doesn't allow us to be vulnerable or to not have to wear that, that strong hat, that strong title, whatever. And then if you don't do it, and then it's like, I feel like I have to constantly be put on. I got to put on this because people are expecting this of me. And then I have found that a lot of that leads to mental health conditions like depression and anxiety and just feeling overwhelmed and things like that, especially when they feel like they can't live up to the expectations.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too comes from back to what Karie was saying. It not only goes back to slavery per se, but it's something that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation and generation. Because I'm pretty sure, each and every one of us, when we think about the women who we look up to in our lives, and, there's celebrities that, you may look up to, but a lot of the strong women that we refer to in our lives are family members. It's our moms, it's our aunts, it's our grandmother, our great grandmother, and like Karie was saying, you see what they had to go through raising us, the trials and tribulations that they had to endure to get to where they are at now. And so you, in a sense, like you said, take it on. Karie said, time doesn't stop for anybody. So regardless if I want to cry, if I want to have a moment to break down, to scream, holler, cuss, and fuss, it's like there's really no time for that, because the household needs to be taken care of. Kids got to be taken care of. Bills still got to be paid and things of that nature. And so, like you said, we condition ourselves over time, like not to be vulnerable. We don't necessarily want people to see us in that space. Because we believe that they may perceive us as being weak.
Exactly.
A lot of times in my family, I've heard over the years, "Oh, you're the strong one." And I've heard that for both men and women, in my family. And so sometimes as a child, I never really thought nothing of it. But the older that I become, it's just like, thank you, but no thank you, because yeah, I know that in these areas, that's a strength for me. But when there's a time where I need help, or I need a shoulder to sit up here and cry on, or I need somebody just to vent to, there are times I don't necessarily feel like I have that outlet, because once again, you don't want to be perceived as weak, or, oh, she got it, because she's strong and she's this and she's that. So I think a lot of it, like you said, it just goes back to how we were raised and the examples that we've seen over the years and things of that nature. And I'm glad that you pointed out mental health, because I was looking at some statistics last night and I was shocked.
Share the statistics.
Some of the stuff that I pulled up. So when we were initially talking about or dialoguing about this week and last week, I was telling you all about the whole situation revolving around Serena Williams. For those of you all that know Serena is one of the most well-known, most decorated athletes, not only in the United States history and just national history, but she made headlines a couple of years ago when she was speaking out about this whole strong Black women stereotype. At the time, she was pregnant with her daughter, Olympia, and post-pregnancy, she knew instinctively that something was wrong. Although she was not a medical professional, that was her first time having a baby, she knew her body. And she knew that something was not right. And although she tried to explain to her treatment team that, hey, something is not right, something is going on, at the time, they did not want to listen to her. And so basically, she had to speak up. I imagine probably get a little ugly, probably some choice words and stuff like that before people took her seriously. And come to find out, there really was something going on with her. She had to actually end up being rushed into emergency surgery after she gave birth. This is supposed to be one of the most beautiful moments of a woman's life. But if she would not have advocated and stayed on those healthcare professionals because they perceived that she was strong, and that she didn't know what she was talking about and things of that nature, not only could she have lost her life, but who's to say that her daughter would even be
Yep.
and
Yeah.
so some of the statistics that I came across as I was reading about Serena Williams' story, it says that Black women has the highest maternal mortality rates. They die 2.5 times more than white women. And this statistic I got from 2008. It says 1 in 4 Black girls will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18. For every one Black female who reports being assaulted, 15 of those ladies will not come forward and tell their story. Black women have the highest death rate of all racial groups and are 42 times more likely to die of breast cancer. Countless women, as we know, Black women are abducted, they're kidnapped every year. Their stories are never really told. They kind of just go off in the wind and things of that nature. And then there are alarming rates of even Black trans women who are dying yearly due to transphobia type of hate crimes and things of that nature. We also die of higher instances when it comes to depression, when it comes to hypertension, obesity, as well as diabetes compared to our white counterparts. So a lot of people, like I said, at the end of the day, think that we are perceived strong and, at the end of the day, we can stand up, with everything that comes our way, but we're just like anybody else. If anything, we want to be seen as human.
Exactly. And I wanted to pose a question. And thank you for telling us those statistics, Keisha. I really appreciate that. But I wanted to pose a question right now. And the viewers, y'all can leave comments in the comments if you want to about this. But why do you think that label, the strong and independent woman, is typically given to the Black woman? Like, you don't really see that label with a lot of the other races. Why do you think it's us in particular? Because I've always wondered about that. Like, why do they pick us specifically for that title? Did it say anything about in the Willie Lynch letters about that, Karie? That you can remember?
Well, for the most part, I think what it came from is like I guess I'm not sure that if it's the correct term, but kind of it's called buck breaking. I'm not sure, where it's kind of like they break a man down to the point that it's like in front of the woman, so it's like she sees him as weak, and then he becomes weak at one, at a point. So it's pretty much like you training, I don't know, a horse. You breaking a horse. I think that's what they actually compared it to, is like buck breaking a horse. So it's kind of like you keep mistreating it. You keep showing them trauma situations. They keep going through traumatic situations. Eventually, psychologically, mentally, they're going to break. And it's like, they're going to get on board or whatever it is that, you want them to do. So I think that part where I went to Black women is just for the fact that it's like, just, I mean, not to just say, but Black people in general, it's like, just like the male is always seen as the big, scary, aggressive or whatever. And the Black woman is seen as loud and, always popping off. And it's just like, sometimes just want to be heard. But I think that's like a lot of where it comes from. Is like generations of being angry or tired, fed up. It's like, because you got the weight of the world on your shoulders, your family on your shoulders, and you always gotta make a way. It's like at some point, you get broken down too. So I think it's over the generations. It's just kind of sort of, it just became like a thing where it's like, oh well, just how you were saying before, where it's like if you kind of sort of, if you take on the slack of whatever you're not being done, you're not getting, then you automatically get labeled as that. Like, oh, you're so strong, like you can do it. It's like, I don't want to have to do it, but somebody, nobody else will.
Exactly.
Yeah, the ball got to keep rolling. The world don't stop because like my kids got to eat. I got to eat, whatever the case is. So it's like, I need to find a way, and it's always, that, that's just a cycle. It just keeps repeating itself. But I think that's why Black women actually got it, was because of the fact that, like I said, it's just, and I guess it could have been before that time. It could be real, could not be real, but it just like, it made a lot of sense just because it's like, okay, well, we already were kind of looked at as like, what's the term? Like, less than, lower than, not even as a person, kind of sort of like as
It's
actually
still
compared to
are. It's
horses.
still are.
Yeah, he's being compared to a horse. It's like, he's almost saying you're not even human. So it's like that is like it was easier to just go about that route. So I mean, I think that's what had a lot to do with why black women specifically, because the white women, if you look at it today, that a lot of white women are seen as frail, um, innocent, just like the epitome of beauty type thing. It's just like that's just the again programming, and this was conditioned to believe. Like you see a little old white lady, oh, she couldn't have done that. Just anything like this. Like it's just you get that whole automatic like, oh, if a crime was committed, you go automatically go, oh, that had to be a white person. It's just like we're conditioned to believe certain stuff. When nowadays, like the whole narrative is being changed. Like you don't know who's doing what, who's crazy. So yeah, but
Yeah. I wanted, okay. So Gwen just put a comment up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna read that for everybody. Society has labeled us that way. Other cultures of women have been seen as dainty and in need of support. Yep. However, Black women have historically held down careers and homes. Even during slavery, Black women worked the field and took care of the family, or Black women took care of the white home and their children and then their own.
uh-huh.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, other people see you like you just keep doing it. It's just like even at work, if you just keep getting the work done and nobody even sees how the work is being done, you automatically be like, oh, well, they don't see the struggle behind what you went through to get there in a relationship. You automatically say, oh, relationship goals, but you don't know what they went through to get there. It's just like nobody knows the background what took for it to become that way, and it's like it's just. In this instance, like I said, I agree with Shaniqua. It's not. I don't want that badge of honor. Like, like I want a
Mhm.
man. I want a man that's a man that can take that weight off my shoulders. Like I
Right.
can make decisions and choices to not have to like be vulnerable, not always have to, you know, be the one. I'm bringing home the eggs, the bacon, I'm cooking it, and then I got a grown man, sitting over here looking at me like, oh, okay, so what time I'm finna eat? Like, nah, like,
Right. Right.
nah.
I
So
think though,
yeah.
even though we can look at that from the perception of even those of us, all of us are working women. We're in
Uh,
our career. So even a lot of times you at some point have heard somebody, a colleague, supervisor may have referred to you as strong as well. Or something that I have seen over the years is a lot of times I feel like there have been instances where I've been given more work
uh-huh.
versus other colleagues on my team. And so when I question that, I get, because you're strong, you're reliable, and you're going to get
You
things
can
done. And
handle
it's
it.
just, yeah, you can handle it. And it's just like, that's understandable. But at the same time, if everybody is trained properly and everybody's held accountable, they also can do the exact same thing. Like, why does everything once again fall back on our shoulders? And then when you
Uh-huh.
call it out, then not only are you the strong Black woman, then you get stereotyped again as the angry Black
Yeah.
woman.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Yeah,
like,
because we are. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, Karie.
Oh no, I'm saying because we always hold it down, but it's like that's the thing. It's like we're always seeing you holding it down, but it's like nobody's there to catch us when we about to fall down. It's like okay, you always looking out, but it's like okay, so you just kind of suck it up and keep it moving. That's pretty much how it get. And then a lot of times, like I say, a lot of conversations you have the wrong person. People miss the whole message because of the messenger. It's like if you're saying too much, like you majoring in the minor type thing. It's like, you got to look at the bigger picture of it all. It's like you can look at it and say, okay, yeah, I'm because what was the main thing I heard that's so annoying to me is like I got my own house, I got my own car, I got a job, I take care of my kids by myself. I'm sitting here like, congratulations for being an adult, but I mean, why would you want all that pressure on you? Like, I don't want to do that by myself.
Right.
Like, no, I don't want to do all that. Like, congratulations, but no, thank you. Like, I mean, not saying it's not a good thing to anybody. I'm just you, not me. But yeah, yeah, no.
That's true.
my
And
my mental peace is my goal. That's me right there. I'm ain't no. I'm.
right.
If I'm gonna do it by myself, be by myself. No,
Yeah.
no,
And
no.
and sometimes I think about like what would happen if we just decided, you know what, we are not going to own this label anymore. Like I'm not going to be known as a strong Black independent woman. I'm just known as a human. I'm known as, a woman. I'm known as, someone just like you. How do y'all think that would make things different? Like, do you think people will accept that from us if we decide that we're not going to accept that?
Yeah, because men are gonna be forced to rise up and women are gonna be forced to fall back. And it's like eventually it's gonna be one of those situations where it's like if you're no longer doing it, somebody has to feel that, where there's a need to feel it. Somebody's gonna have to fill that gap. Because it's just like if you live in a household and you decide, I mean, eventually, yeah, it's probably gonna get real nasty. But if you decide to stop cleaning up, eventually somebody's gonna get fed up and they're gonna do something. It's like, it probably get real nasty before it happens. But if you don't put your foot down, it's at the end of the day, because like all people do is like blame who did it, why, or whatever, and it's like it don't matter. It just needs to be fixed.
Right.
It's like, at this point, it's just like, but yeah, that's my thing. Is just the fact that like it's kind of. I just think that at that point that men, if you kind of like, ever heard the term like, people treat you, you got to teach people how to treat you. It's
Mhm.
I tell my husband that all the time.
yeah, it's
Yes.
along those lines. It's like what you accept is gonna continue. So it's like if you keep on taking, because it's like you should. I mean, I'm not gonna. This is my opinion. My opinion. But if you keep accepting somebody treating you less than, or you keep on, allowing less than, and you don't speak up, then you're telling them it's okay. So it's gonna keep going. It's like, so the narrative is never gonna change. Because that's been my whole thing from the beginning. Is, just in general. My thing is if you keep reading the past chapters, you're gonna like you can't write a new chapter if you keep reading the old chapters. So
Yeah.
you have to be the change you want to see. Like I'm glad, somebody thinks I'm strong and Black because I got out there and hustled and made, did what I had to do to get my own stuff and get myself stable because I wanted to, whatnot. But again, like I said, I didn't want to be considered like strong and Black, or, just independent and ooh, I don't need a man. Cause like I want one, I just want a good one, like I want a dependable one. And now
Mhm.
they get stuff because that's like the narrative is like, oh, I don't need no man. And then the next thing you know, you got songs out here saying the same thing. And then you got the younger girls out here repeating this stuff and believing this stuff. So it's just like the cycle is just gonna keep. Well, I don't say it's gonna keep, but it has kept going because of. But yeah.
I think you have to stand. I agree with you, Karie, but also to add to it, I think that there are times where women we have voiced our concerns. We have said, X, Y, and Z, and then for whatever reason, we allowed that person or we allowed what people placed on us. We went right back into those spaces. And so setting clear boundaries, making your yes is yes and your no's are no's. And so
Uh-huh.
if I'm saying that I'm going to do something, hey, I'm going to do it. But if I'm also telling you, hey, I'm no longer tolerating this behavior, then that means I'm no longer tolerating that behavior and being willing to stand in that space, hold yourself accountable, but also being ready for what's going to come along with that as well. Like I said, a lot of time, people pleasing, a lot of
Uh-huh.
we have a problem wanting to make everybody happy, wanting to make everybody feel safe and
Mhm.
secure and happy. We can't save everybody. Number one, everybody don't want your help. Okay,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
you put it out there. There are some people that gonna
But you
continue.
offer it, they dang sure gonna take it.
Exactly.
Exactly. So at the
Yeah.
end,
You off me
do
$1,000,
something.
I'm gonna take it.
Say
Okay.
you're gonna do something, you're
Yeah,
gonna do it.
you said you gonna come clean my house. I don't want you in my person, but you can do it.
I know that's right.
But yeah,
So,
but yeah, a lot of it too is like required because it's like I said, you just gotta require people to, like you gotta require a man to be a man. You can't accept, like that. Just narrowing it down. It's like you kind of because that is a lot of the burden is nowadays like that I see is like men aren't men anymore. They're being raised. I mean, like I said, no disrespect to any single mothers, but they're being raised by women. So a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. You can raise them with respect. You can raise them to be respectful. You can teach them all as far as you can, but you can't. It's still a psychological, thing there because I know everybody knows a mama's boy out there somewhere. So it's kind of like one of those things where if the mother, is kind of like, I think my boyfriend, he said it. I kind of agree with him, but he said like nowadays the way that women treat their sons is like a boyfriend type thing. Like, oh, you my man, you my little boyfriend or something like this. So it's like when it comes time to separate and get attached, they're looking for their mother. Like, so it's just like their mother, they look at her as strong, black, independent because that's all they had to look up to in their grandmother. So that helps continue the cycle because you expect, you know, your wife or your girlfriend or whoever to fill in that same role to take all the nonsense that your mama and your grandmama took. And
Mm-hmm.
so that feeds into the narrative. But yeah, one of like no boys allowed type thing. Me, only grown men can come over here.
Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the comments, and I really like what Shantae said. She put, I agree with you guys that it stemmed from slavery. Black women had to be strong when their men and children were ripped from them and sold to different plantations. If they showed emotions, they were whipped and condemned. So they were taught throughout generations to hold in their feelings and to be strong and handle it. That's so
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And
Yep,
that goes
that
back to
condition.
kind of like the story I was talking about with Serena. Um, the story that just came out like within the past couple of months with them praising the Dr. Sims. He's termed the father of gynecology. But people have gone back and done studies. And if you all get the opportunity, Google this man, Google the stories. When I tell you like traumatic, gruesome. I can't believe what some of these women had to go through. He experimented with enslaved black women because him, as well as other doctors at that time, once again felt that women had a stronger or heightened sense of pain compared to white women. And so he would perform what we now term as a pap smear, or maybe the woman is suffering from fibroids, or maybe she's suffering some complications with regards to pregnancy without anesthesia. So can you imagine like going through a surgery and somebody basically ripping your insides out, not because that particular tool or resource wasn't available, just because at the end of the day they just thought that you could handle it. You've been handling, like you said, you work out in the fields, you take care of master's children, you out here sewing, you out here cooking, and things of that nature. So surely you can endure, uh, an incident such as this. So goes back again, like I said, talking to about how slavery and how this whole term has been coined over the years.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's true. That's very true. I'm ready. I really want to know like what men think about this. If we have any men that are like logged on right now watching, like please put in the comments like what are your thoughts about some of this? Because we're hearing a lot from the women, and that's cool. But I just want to hear from the men and see what y'all think. So feel free to go ahead and leave a comment.
Yeah, because like I said, eventually you get tired of, your knees hurting, your back breaking, you
Mm,
tired. And it's like, at the end of the day, you still got to come home and cook dinner. It's like, nah, I'm good. Like, who's taking care of you? So, but like I
right.
said, I think a lot of it is not recognized at the same time. It's just like, it's because women are taught to be strong. Like, from your mother, you see, like I said, it all stems from like, your mother or your grandmother. You see it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's your visual representation, that's your upbringing, that's your training. And then, like you said, if you have, you know, celebrity, idols or whatnot, you see the same thing in that. They thank them, most of them thank their mothers. Say, yeah, if it wasn't for her, and it's like you don't hear a lot of people thanking their dads as much,
Yeah.
or acknowledging the fact. So it's just like I think it's a lot of trauma, but
Yeah, it's definitely trauma. And I
mm,
also think when you had brought up the point about how with the men, the black men especially, and you were talking about how they often are looking for women that are like their mothers. And
mm-hmm,
that kind of had me thinking about, the opposite, where, a lot of black women, may have grew up in homes where there wasn't a father in the picture. And so the mother is basically, having to really instill, oh, you need to be strong, you need to be independent
mm-hmm,
because, you don't need a man to be
Mhm.
able to provide for you or whatever like that,
Mhm.
because you can take care of yourself. And I feel like, yes, we have to be able to take care of ourselves. And like what you were saying, Karie, before, like this is stuff that, being a grown up, being
Yeah.
an adult and really taking care of yourself. But at the same time, those messages that you can receive from, mothers and things like that, that can be very damaging, because, we're created to be with someone. And
Mhm.
independent is fine. It's fine to be independent, but at the same time, knowing exactly that we're here to love
Mhm.
one another and to give and to receive love. So I think it also can be when the father is not present in the home too, and the mother is instilling that.
Mhm.
Those-
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like I know it's unintentional, like because I don't want to make it seem like men just out here giving women a hard time. It's like it's unintentional because, like I said, if you see your mom and dad, your mom or your grandma being strong, then it's like you unintentionally, some like men do it. I like to put more weight, on a woman's shoulders. Don't even realize he's doing it. Like you get a man that's not good with finances. He's not good. Like just he can't cook. He don't know. Just like little stuff like that any adult male should know. Just basic stuff like how to like. Why do I need to conduct your life and mine as well? It's like that's the thing. It's like if I don't think it's I don't think it's just being taught because it's not thought about. It's like a subconscious type thing. It's just like at this point, it's a second nature for us.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
But
us have to learn. I know that's something I'm very, very key with my students, especially my Black girls, teaching them how to advocate for themselves, and not just only in
uh-huh,
relationships, on an entire spectrum when it comes to school, standing up for,
uh-huh. At
especially like
work.
who just
Uh-huh.
get ready to start off the college, pre-K through 12th grade. Everybody, for the most part, they take care of you. That's the law. So there are going to be certain things and certain parameters that are put in place where adults are going to have to step in and do X, Y, and
Uh-huh.
Z. But when you get to college, people automatically are going to view you as an adult and just perceive and
Mhm.
expect certain things. And so if you don't talk up, and you need, let's say you're a student that's disabled and you receive various accommodations throughout your 12 years of schooling, that may not necessarily take place in your collegiate years if you don't advocate and speak up for yourself. If you are struggling in a particular core subject area in pre-K through 12, like
Uh-huh.
I said, there could have been a
Mhm.
whole lot of different parameters,
Uh-huh.
a whole lot of tools and resources set up where people were coming at you in all different types of ways to assist you. That may not necessarily be your case in college. So if you don't learn how to advocate and come with being your voice, you may very well end up getting left behind in this thing that we call life. So I think it's
Uh-huh.
something that we constantly have to hamper and
Yep.
hammer into our kids. There is nothing wrong with you standing up for yourself, because when you don't, like you said, you teach people how to treat you, and eventually you could end up becoming bitter. It could end up becoming resentful. But at the
Uh-huh.
end of the day, who can you really blame for that?
Yeah, you turn
You,
into the angry black woman. Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
not saying anything.
Uh-huh. And the same goes like what you were saying, like as far as work is concerned. Like if you see a disparaging how you're being treated, as far as like either other races, other men, whatever the case is you see it's like say something. That might not be the position, the job for you, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she has a pretty professional career, and that's one of the things she was saying is like she works around a lot of Caucasians, and it's like a lot of times, like, well, I do know for a fact it's a two-person job or whatnot, and they put a lot of the work on her or whatnot, to the point it's like her mental stress. It's like I have to talk her off the cliff sometimes. She's just like, you know what, I quit. Like, and it's just like, don't do that. But at the same time, and it's like, some make inappropriate, comments and don't even realize it. And it kind of just adds on to the stress of I'm just supposed to, suck it up and take it. I got to put on, my proper voice. I can't just be me. Because I don't want to be seen as angry. I don't want to be seen this way. And she pretty much said, because like I've never been in that environment to where I couldn't say what I wanted to say in a certain way. I couldn't be myself. But the way she was saying, I was like, but she was like, that's a whole nother added stress. It's like, she'll read back to me emails sometimes like that doesn't sound too aggressive, does it? Because it's just like, you don't want to be seen as that being like one of the only, and then, she also pointed out, it's some you have the token ones there that are just like, kind of they accept, that, oh, I have to do this, I have to be this. And she was just like, I mean, I don't think this is for me. And I'm like, well, it's just right now it's just for the money, but otherwise, let me go follow my heart somewhere else because I don't think this is for me, and yeah, like I say, a lot of it is, you know, when you see like, because I consider her like she's like I said, most of my friends, like my friend circle, I look at them as, you know, not strong, independent women, but I look at them as like, successful, educated women. Like that's their power right there is in the fact that, you know, whether you have a degree or not, you can still be educated if you could have a deeper conversation than talking about going to get your nails and your hair done, and who does my lashes. Like that's kind of, I guess well, because like that's all we're gonna talk about. You can't be in my circle because I need somebody with some critical thinking skills. I can't think for you and me too. And we supposed to be friends. Like nah, and I don't always like take because that's another burden. I don't want to take your burden, so that's another pile I had to add to my plate. Nah, I'm good on that.
Mhm.
So, so
And I think Karie, wasn't you? I know you were showing me there was this picture of this meme that was going around social media, and it was about
oh yeah,
a
yeah.
woman that was they were in the was it the not a pool but like in the water or something
Yeah,
like that.
she was drowning. She had her hand up in the air. It was like pretty much the black woman, and then the other hand that was coming to meet her, it was labeled as society. And instead of grabbing her hand and helping her out of the water while she's drowning, they gave her a high five and was like, "You got this." And it's kind of like, what in the world?
And
So
that
it's
really
kind of like that. Yeah, it kind of like illustrated exactly the, I guess it illustrated the primarily what it is. That's there's no other way to put it, but that's what it was. Is that it's like, oh, okay, you got it done. Okay, good job. It's not like, oh, okay, let me get you some help.
hmm
Like, do you need any
I think
help?
too, like in the workforce, I know you were talking about with racial discrimination, also even within our own communities, and when it comes to gender-based discrimination.
Mm,
So when men, see women, especially Black women, being treated or talked to a certain way, like once again,
mhm,
making your voice heard, making it known,
mhm.
stepping in to help us. If you see that we need help, help. Like I said, it shouldn't
Yeah,
take for us to have to get aggressive or to get loud or come out of character for what it is to for us to get what it is that we want. But a lot of times, some of us feel like we have to go to
got to
that
go
negative
there.
you got to go there. Yeah, because like the
Go
people
there.
that work with me know the people that have worked with me in the past. They know I go there. Like
yeah,
you're not finna talk to me any kind of way. It's not my supervisors. I have done it, but not my supervisor necessarily. But it's just one of the things where you just nah, it's you not finna come to me any kind of way. But at the same time, like I don't think I'm aggressive, but I can be verbally assertive with what I'm trying to get, because like I have like right now it's me talking louder than I usually talk. I have a very very quiet voice, so I'm like I do my yeah. I train myself to talk like this. Forget you.
Now, do you think that it's you being assertive, or you said you being assertive, or could it be that you're being passionate? You're passionate about what it is.
I know I'm
That
assertive because like it's my thing is like because it depends because like I've been in a lot of jobs where it's a lot of sexism. I've worked with a lot of guys who they think I'm attractive. So I at one time I even got called gay because lesbian because I did not want to interact with any of the guys I work with in that kind of way. It's like I turned everybody down. So it's like, oh, okay, you must be gay. I'm like, why do I have to be there? Because I was single for a long time. I made a lot of bad decisions in dating, but it's just like, why is that, automatically seen? Because it's like I was making a lot of moves on my own. Like, while, like I said, I did the house and the car thing by myself or whatnot, but not because I had to. It's because I wanted to. And, in the same sense of like, I do want that husband, that whole, I want that relationship where we can lean on each other. I'm not just, you putting all your weight on me. I'm sitting here to, I have to make sure everything is taken care of. That's not what I wanted. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till I do it. But that, like I said, that's the main thing that made me become kind of the way I am, as far as, like, I guess, like I said, I'm more assertive with what I say, because, like, men don't listen a lot of the time. So you have to kind of get a little bit, like, you know what, and go. I want to say I had to come outside myself, but I had to yeah, I had to be a little bit. I had to become somebody else real quick, and
Mm-hmm.
then draw it back in. But it's like, yeah, I don't feel like it should have to be like that. It's like, it's just, but that's the thing I have found in everything, where it's like, if you don't want to, like I said, I don't want to interact with you in that kind of way. Like, I'm not interested in you. I don't want you. I'm not gonna act like I do. But we can be friends. We can be friendly. But that's where, my line in the sand is. So anything outside of that, like I said, it is. And then I've been told a lot of times, like, I have a bad, like, from certain guys, that I have a bad attitude, because I'm very, like, I'm sarcastic. So it's just like, if you can't go back and forth with me on that level, then it's like, I guess I can be looked at as like, oh, I don't want to fool with her, kind of, she has a bad attitude. But it's only by undesirables, not everybody. So it's just like, but for the most part, I think I'm all right. I think I'm cool.
Yeah, you are. You more than all right.
And
You more than all
I
right.
think I'm cool, if I had to say so myself.
I wanted to shout out my coworker. Roxy just made a comment. She said it's all about knowing your value, women, and I couldn't agree
Hmm.
with her
Yeah.
when it comes to that. Once again, when you know your value, you won't allow people to treat you certain type of ways. You won't allow certain type of behaviors to take place in your
Hmm.
life. So that comes back to knowing yourself, being an advocate, spending some alone time with yourself and with that man
Hmm.
upstairs.
Yeah, that goes
Uh,
back to what y'all topic last week. That whole self-worth thing. You got to know
Mhm.
if you worth. You got to know your value, because anybody could like a diamond to somebody who's used to super zirconium. So it's kind of one of those things. Like, if you don't know what it is, they don't know what it is they're supposed to be doing, and yeah, they're gonna treat you however. You
Yeah,
can't
that's
recognize a diamond when you see it shining, if all you used to seeing is fake.
that's true. And I wanted to what you were talking about, Keisha, about where you asked Karie if it was assertive, if she was being assertive, or if she was being you said assertive or passionate, I believe was that what you said? I think
Hmm.
uh-huh.
I think you can be both with that, honestly, because I know, like, with me, whenever I'm assertive and when I feel like I need to get my needs met, that's something that's important to me, and I'm passionate about getting my needs met, because I remember there were times where I didn't feel like I had a voice.
Hmm.
And now that I have really become more within myself and know, like, who I am and whose I am, I'm able to really be able to tell people, how I feel, but I do it in a way that you're going to hear me. I'm going to be heard, but I'm not going to belittle you at the same time. And I think a lot of times, especially in relationships, I think sometimes, not even think, communication can be a really big issue in terms of, like, how you may view one another, men and women and whatnot. And I feel like that is another reason why we're given that label, the angry black woman or whatever, because of the fact that a lot of times the communication is not there. That's a whole nother topic, though.
Yeah, that's the basic core of it. Like, a lot of people don't know how to have a basic
Right.
conversation. You can't,
Yeah.
you can't have a disagreement without it becoming the actual. I don't want to talk to you. I don't. How many times have you seen it on Facebook or the internet alone, where somebody say, "Oh, I had unfriend a whole bunch of people because they said X, Y, and Z." And it's like, okay, what does their viewpoint or opinion, like, whatever, about a thing that, like you said, it's a whole nother conversation. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
conversation. And
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
that's definitely a whole nother conversation.
But
So,
yeah.
but yeah, it really does stem a lot of it to communication, and then just the belief systems that you received.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I
And
think a lot of. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also wondering, why do I need to live up to this label? Like, what would happen if I didn't? If I was just, vulnerable and things like that, you know, let it be just that. So I think it's just gonna really depend on us as Black women, just really being like, it's okay if I don't have to live up to this label. That doesn't change like who I am as a person, or what my purpose is, or what I can bring to the table and stuff like that, because I'm still a human. At the end of the day, I'm still a person with feelings.
And at the end of the day, a lot of times you need to allow certain things to fall however they may fall. It becomes a teachable moment for all parties involved. So we may not want to see our loved ones go by the wayside. Or you like Karie mentioned example, you may not want to see your house in disarray because you're used to things being in their place and things of that nature. But sometimes people need to learn, and unfortunately, like I said, you're going to have to just let the things fall in the manner in which they fall in order for people to learn what needs to be learned. Because at the end of the day, once again, you can't save everybody. You can't be a superhero and you can't even save yourself.
Exactly.
Say that.
And
Say
you
that.
are the most important person at the end of the day, whether you realize it or not. So you got to take care of self first.
So important.
I had a question for y'all. Do you think it makes a difference, like if it was like a household with a father and a mother or whatnot, like if it was somebody with a two-parent coming from a two-parent household, that the same narrative would probably be, I guess, put on the a female, or like a black woman or a black child or whatnot? Do you think that they would have the same, I say, the same expectation, like they would be taught the same thing? Or do you think it's just like just single mother type vibe? Just why?
I think that it could happen regardless of the household. I think a lot of times we see a lot of it in a single parent household, but I think it can happen anywhere, because again, it goes back to what our parents learned, because all of this is learned behavior. And it's like you were saying about the generation thing. It's like, if this is what I've been taught, I'm going to teach this to you. So I think it doesn't matter what the household is, if you come from a single parent household or two parent household.
I agree, Shnequia, because you could be in a relationship, whether you term it as a marriage situationship, complicated, however you want to, whatever title that you put on it, and they could still be two broken individuals. So although I still have two people in my household, if my mother is broken or whoever's taking care of me is broken, mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa, you're going to create broken individuals who have broken viewpoints about how to get through life. And then once again, you could have two very well parents who have it together. But once again, that child at the end of the day is still going to be their own individual. They still got to figure out life on their own terms. And so once again, if they get around people, in which they will, people that share different value systems and beliefs, and they've done this and they've done that, again, that child at one point or another, they're going to create their own narrative. So it can go either direction.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I was like, I know a lot of times, like, because I've done it, and it's like, I was just thinking about it when we were talking. There's a lot of times, somebody does, I will help you, like, no, I'm good, I got it. And it's like, you kind of adding on to that, like, nobody runs to the help of somebody who always saying, I got it. And, you identify with being strong and independent. It's like, you're kind of like, that goes back to, like, I guess, teaching somebody how to treat you. Because you kind of, because I think that, in a way, I agree with both of y'all. But, like, in a way, I think it's sort of kind of too, where, it's out there, but I think it's not being portrayed as much as, like, seeing healthy families, healthy, households, like mother, father, kids or whatnot, like just in a healthy situation where it's like, a girl sees her father, going to work. She sees her mother, going to work, handling the household, and them being like a team, like, seeing it's like, okay, I don't see my mama doing all the hard work, and I see my daddy being, pretty much a little bit more lackadaisical in what he could be doing is, in the situation. So I think, like, but like you said though, it would be more so the child, creating their own narrative, because like society has a strong, and like I said, because when it's like music, you got movies, you got a lot of stuff that impacts the way that people, proceed. Because a lot of this stuff, if it's I think some of it comes too from, if you think about it, like the music, just like the reality shows, all that good stuff. You see a lot of women out here, like they start following what they see because they think like, okay, a man isn't gonna want me because the little fake. I mean, I'm not against any of it. It's not for me, but I'm just saying to who does it, do it. But like getting the long fingernails, the pointy nails, the eyelashes, having your makeup and your wigs done, every day. Like you got to put on a full face just to go to the grocery store. It's like because you think that's what a man wants, and you have to look the part, you have to be the part, and so it's like a lot of people go broke trying to look a certain way, or whatnot. You out here a whole Toyota, in a you got a Toyota motor in a Lexus body. It's just like it's that's a lot of, I think, what actually comes because you could see a woman on TV acting like a full black woman on TV. We all watch the Housewives and all that good stuff and Love and Hip Hop, and you see these women on here like, I'm getting money, I'm doing this and this and that. But at the same time, ain't none of them, most of them ain't got no man, or they dealing with a lot to keep that man or to get that man to do right or whatever the case is. So I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, is like the conversation needs to be had, but it needs to be had by people on that platform, like who can, speak to, like they have the power to create a change, but they choose to act the fool, and they, furthermore put the angry black woman thing out there, and then label it as I'm strong, you
Mm-hmm.
know, while your man is cheating on you, you come back and be like, oh no, I'm strong, I can, it's all right, we good, we gonna work it out. And it's like, no, so then girls, and like I said, the 20-year-olds, they soaking all this up. I think they like sponges. They taking all this in, so they looking at it like, okay, my mama was single, she made it happen, so I need to do what I see on TV. Because a lot of them, that's what they do. They just do what they see on TV and the Megan Thee Stallions and all them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Roxy says, Jill Scott, I need you. Whereas she knows that she can be independent, but knows that she needs a man to fulfill certain needs. By us saying that I need you makes us vulnerable, that a man wants to be needed.
Mhm. That's a whole femininity behind that, because like women give off masculine energy just from the fact that like you like that whole, no, I got it, and you know you gotta have this X, Y, and Z to get with me, and it's like it's not coming from a place of, you know I got it. It's coming from a place, I got it, not the fact that like, okay, let me embrace this male trying to help me, or trying to, be there for me. But that is a thing. It's kind of that I do agree with that. That it's like, how can you tell a man that I want a man, but I don't need one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
like you are toxic right then. It's toxic. Like you don't realize you're being, but you're toxic. When you, the first time you say I don't need a man, it's like, no, we don't need men. Like, I won't die without one, but it's like you will continue a cycle that you don't want. Who wants to go through life alone? Who wants to go through life always struggling because you have
Yeah.
to, not because, circumstances. It's like, nah, you don't have to live like that, but
Yeah. And I think just having these conversations, like what we're doing now,
mhm,
I think that's like the first step in really like seeing that this is something that is really going on. Like this is a real thing. And also, and and this is not just because I work in mental health, but really like looking deep within and seeing like what is the reason, that I feel like I must live up to this label, and seeing like, man, do I really need to maybe talk to someone about this? Because like you were saying, Karie, you don't want to continue this cycle over and over. At some point, the cycle needs to break. And I think the only way that
mhm.
that can happen is we have to work on ourselves.
Us. We got to work on us.
It
Yeah,
starts with
did you see Shantae's? Did you see Shantae's comment? She pretty much said, society has changed how they see how they view black women as a whole, and it's like, it's not gonna make a difference if there's, one or both parents present. It's not gonna make a difference. So yeah, it's pretty much the narrative. Like, we have the power to rewrite the narrative. That's what I'm saying. You keep going back like, oh, okay, my mama didn't have to do this, my grandmama didn't have to do this, or she did this, she made a way out of it. It's like, okay, get that. Give credit where it's due, but it's like you don't have to follow in that same direction. It's like you don't Because it's like it's weird because there's a lot of contradictions where it's like, I'm not my grandmama, I'm not gonna take this, but at the same time it's like, okay, but at what point do you like, okay, some things in tradition work. It's like, you can take out the bits and pieces that make sense, but it's like at the same time overall is you don't have to drop the whole, the whole teaching of, how to be self-sufficient as opposed to being the I don't need, I
Yeah.
guess mentality.
So
It's
it's
like a
about
different.
finding the balance, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
the thing. A lot of women don't. I think that's the thing. It's like I don't know if it's a teachable thing or if it's just like a life thing. Like life lessons teach you how to be like how to balance it out because it's like you have to actively work at it. You can't just wake up one day and be like, oh okay, you know what? You gotta I can't use bad words on here, but you got a ain't it man or whatnot. You can't just wake up the next day and be like, you know what? I'm finna draw my line in the sand today. It's like, no, you do that from the beginning. It's like you can't. You need a whole new man now. It's
Mhm.
like because he's already learned how to treat you. So it's like you go ahead, throw him in the trash, and then go ahead and go to the grocery store and find you a new one and start from there. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
I think it's going to take all of us getting on board. There's not just one
Uh
entity
huh.
that's able to
Uh huh.
change
Uh huh.
this narrative. It's going to take for society getting on board. It's going to take for our men to get on board. It's going to take for us, like I said, standing and being one with ourselves and
Uh
advocating. It comes from those teachable moments, having those, those raw moments where looking at yourself in the mirror, or if you got a good girlfriend or your mom or parent or mentor, sitting up here holding you accountable for
huh.
your behaviors. But like I said, it all goes back to what we talked about in episode 2. It
Mhm.
all boils down to self worth and your perception of what you perceive as strong, your perception of what you perceive to be your strength, or what your
Uh
definition around strength um,
Yeah.
is. But once again, if you don't regard yourself as being worthy of being treated with respect, as being worthy of being treated with dignity, and that what you say that it carries weight, once again, you're going to allow people to talk to you and to do to you what it is that they want to do. And as a result, that's why we have a lot of women in their 60s and 70s plus,
huh.
they're bitter and they're angry. And that's where you get the whole narrative, oh, you don't need a man for this and you don't need a man uh, for that. But like I said, he played a part in it, or maybe it was many men, but you also did too.
Yeah.
That's where coming, like Shanique was saying, you got to get to know yourself. You got to get back to the basics, and a lot of us don't necessarily want to do that. But you're gonna have to put in the work in order to make some change
Word.
come about in your life, or you're gonna keep on seeing the same repetitive pattern over and over and over. Not only with yourself, with your children's children, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So the key words here: breaking the cycle.
Exactly.
That's what we want. The stress, just breaking the
Exactly.
Uh
cycle. And yeah, we are having a really in-depth conversation about this. I was just looking at the time,
Yeah.
and we could really go on and on a lot more and a lot deeper with this topic because this is a topic that I mean, it can
Needs
go
to
a
be
lot of different ways.
heard. Yeah.
But but I feel like I think that we all brought up some great points that is needed, and I really hope that you all as the viewers were able to really get something out of this and just allow it to kind of give you some own self-reflection on your own self in terms of like some areas you think you may need to work on, or if you know someone else that kind of maybe display some of these behaviors, and maybe being a sister to them and just being like, hey, I'm seeing this. I want to make sure that you learn how to value yourself and things like that. So I think it's just like you said, Keisha, is really going to take all of us, society, the men,
Uh
us as women. We all going to have to work together in order to really be able to break the cycle.
And
No
Shanique,
blame,
I
just
just
need to be
wanted to
fixed.
offer up a resource
Sure.
for our audience. For those of you all, you may have heard about an organization or you may not. However, they are gaining a whole lot of attention, and most cities have their own unique version of this particular females group. It's entitled Girl Trek. Like I said, some of you all may be familiar with it, but it's the #1 public health as well as self-care help organization for Black women across the United States. And so, depending upon the city that you're in, check them out. They do have a Facebook page. You can Google them. But it's essentially Black women that get together to empower and uplift one another. A lot of times they do things, like I said, based around public health awareness, so exercise and nutrition and fitness and things of that nature. But then there are times where they have events where it's just centered on, mentorship and just letting you, vent, so I can just love on you and encourage you and inspire you and uplift you. So for those of you all who may not necessarily have girlfriends or maybe not even have a support group, like I said, check out Girl Trek. They are an awesome, awesome, awesome community of Black women, and you may be amazed about what you learn from older women, whether they be younger or older than you, but also what you too can bring to the organization and gain from being a part of this wonderful group of women.
Yeah. Thank you for that resource and sharing that. Thank you for that. Did y'all have any final thoughts?
Did you see Candace? It was at the top or a little bit higher up when she was like, she can tell the difference when a man has been raised in a single parent household and when he came from a solid 2-parent household. Like, I think we probably touched on it, but like, have y'all noticed anything like that? Like, can you tell the difference? Like, if a man's been raised by his mom or if he had a father?
Like I said,
In your experience,
I've seen it both ways. I've seen a guy who's been raised by just the mom, and you see a lot of the mother boyish characteristics. But I've also seen it also come from a 2-parent household. And I've also seen guys that come from a 2-parent household, and they are, some amazing men. So once again, it can go both ways. It just depends on all parties involved.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
Any other thoughts?
Like and subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already done so.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Candace, yeah, mentorship is important. I do agree with that. Being a mentor for our ladies and for our men too. That's very important.
And going back on how, like I said, my whole inspiration started, like if you haven't read the Willie Lynch letters or whatnot, the makers of a slave, not necessarily, I'm not validating if it's real or if it's not real, but it's, just to have an insight on, I guess, like I said, whether you think it's real or not real, it has a lot of the sayings in it is a lot of what's being depicted today. Like you can literally, at least 5 people that fit the narrative of what you're reading about. It's like no matter how offensive it is or however you might want to take it, but it's like it's a really good read. Just starting off, because like a lot of people, it's like if you don't know, like they're still considered history, but if you don't know your history, you're gonna be doomed to keep repeating it, and that's just in general. So if you don't learn about what was, you don't have to keep reading that chapter, but once you learn about what was, it's like, okay, well, let me start my next chapter on not to be that, or not to, follow the toxic parts of that. Because a lot of things is toxic is being normalized. Go ahead.
Candace brought up a good point. You can come from a single parent household and have good mentors and be just fine. And she's absolutely correct. There's a lot of us that's been raised.
You can, but like you said though, Keisha, if your parents are broken, then you're gonna be broken too.
Yeah, that's why I say it can go both ways. It can go both ways.
Yeah, it can.
It can go both ways.
Yeah. And Candace was also saying mama can't teach a man to be a man and daddy can't teach a woman to be a woman.
That is
very true.
Correct.
Very true.
That's where the mentorship will come in at. if you don't have it.
Yeah,
If
and
mom
mentorship would come from
necessarily
therapy because it's
right.
like mentorship can come from therapy because a lot of ways, like the best, because that's a stigma as well. Like within the Black community, you must be crazy if you go to therapy or something. But it's like if you got so much weighing on you at some point, it's like who is there for you? Like at some point, it's like you need to have your mental because, like we were saying, that contributes to your mental health. If your brain is not healthy, then you are not healthy. Your household is not gonna be healthy. You're gonna be just as toxic as your mama or your daddy or your grandmama was. So it's like again, you're feeding into the nonsense. So it's like at that point, it's like when you recognize that your brain ain't really you got too much going on, depression and all that just starts setting in. It's like it has to be normalized that it's okay to go talk to somebody outside of your home girl, because like I'm that home girl where I got limits. I can only take so much of your nonsense before I'm gonna tell you I don't want to hear it no more. And it's a lot. It's a lot of friends out there that's like that. Like I'm tired. I got problems too. I don't want to. I mean, I got a limit to how many, like how much and like how much tolerance I'm feeling, because like friends get tired too. And I'm like at the same time, I'm a Black woman that I don't want to hear the struggles that you are, pretty much a lot of struggles we put on ourselves. It's like unintentionally, and like I said, also the world and everything else, it just keeps compiling. But at the end of the day, it's like don't put your trauma on somebody else, as a means of, I guess clearing your mind, like because Jody done made you mad over here. Don't come to me telling me what Jody did, and then 2 weeks later you come back telling me the same thing. It's like go tell the therapist. So a lot of things would, and just even with your with work, anything, it's just like as a woman, I think that's one of the things that we need to normalize is going to talk to somebody outside our friend group, because a lot of times your friends are like a reflection of you. They're gonna have the same issues, the same problems, and they're not gonna see the either the toxicity or you know the faults in whatever it is you saying or doing. You're gonna keep on doing the same things or whatnot because they're making it sound like they feel like it's good. And
Right.
sometimes, I know we all done it where, you might call somebody knowing you making bad decisions, but it's like, well, I know at least two of them gonna say yes, go ahead and do it. And it's
Mhm.
like, that's just kind of how some people operate, but you can't stay on that. So I think you gotta protect your peace, you gotta protect your brain, your mental health. Out here
True.
depressed because the world is on your shoulders. You gotta go talk to somebody. Because a
Yeah.
lot of stuff is free now. A lot of stuff, if you do have a job with benefits, it'll be taken care of by that. And then she gave you resources. So it's a lot of different, like, I guess, it's a lot of different outlets, to relieve the stress, the pressure, and all that good stuff without having to internalize it. And then, like, unknowingly, putting it on your kids
Mm-hmm.
and starting a
Yeah.
whole new generation of, people bumping in the walls.
That's true. You said that. With that, I think that's a good place to eat.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because I really do. I felt everything that you were saying because that is so true.
Hmm.
Did you have any final thoughts, Keisha?
No final thoughts. I think it's time for us to wrap it up because we can
Yeah.
continue on with this conversation for
Yeah,
hours.
yeah. As you can see, this is a conversation we could talk about for hours, but we're not gonna do that. But if there's if anybody has any questions for us, I mean that's fine. You can put that in the chat, but if not, that's cool too. And like Keisha said before, make sure to definitely like, share, subscribe to our pages. Um, and if you like the content and things that you're hearing, please share, tell people, because we want to continue to put out good quality content that you're going to really enjoy. So we do want to do that. So we also want to thank our special guest, Karie, for coming in and chatting with us and giving us her perspective. Really
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, thank you. Hopefully, I'll have me back one time, sometime,
Oh,
anytime.
of course, you
Yes,
family. So
yes, thank
you
you.
could be a part of it.
I'm definitely available to do it. Just let me know.
Of
I
course,
got a lot of things. I got a lot of thoughts and opinions. They need
yeah.
to be heard. I
And
have no problem putting them out.
this is the right place to be because we want you to be able to share your
Mm-hmm.
opinions. So we good with
Well,
that.
I'm on the screen and in the comments. You're gonna hear me. You're gonna hear that.
You gotta love Karie. That's why she's one of my best friends. She keeps me laughing all the time.
I have no idea how. But
Well, I didn't have anything else. Did you all ladies have anything?
Nothing else.
All right. Well, thank you again, viewers, insightfulers, for joining us this evening. And we hope that you really enjoyed the conversation and you really got something out of it that you can pass along to a friend or a loved one. So until the next time, which will be in 2 weeks.
Yes.
2 Mondays from now. Be safe out there. Love one another. And take care of yourselves. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, you all.
good night.